think the road noise is probably going to be pretty bad here. But we've got our first job booked today. It is Thursday, September 11th, 1 week from whenever I posted the last video talking about starting a junk removal business. I've got my dad sitting in the passenger seat over here for a little backup help, just in case I can't get everything loaded in the pickup truck. We are running just the pickup truck today, not the trailer. We've got to fix a little issue with the trailer lights, but we are on our way. To say that I'm jacked about this is an understatement. So, got a call today, secured the business with one phone call back, and I'll get some pictures and video when we're on the job site, and then whenever I get home, we'll talk about the total thing, all the expenses with the fuel, dumping expenses, anything like that, and what you can make doing junk removal. See you in a bit. I completely forgot to show you guys the job site. I'll show you some pictures on the way back. But there's the truck. You can see we got it packed full. We got the dump back here. We're gonna get this thing unloaded and then go back for round two. Back for round two. We've got to get all these boxes right here in the back of the truck. And we've got a few back over there. Got some dust in my throat from the dump that we got to get. So should be another, I don't know, 40 minutes or so maybe, and we'll be all wrapped up. So I'll probably see you after I get home. Let's go through my very first junk removal job, start to finish, all the details, and I'm going to talk about the 4 mistakes that I made in this very first job. But before we get into the details, my name is Brian, and I started a junk removal business last week. I've been working on getting it up and going, working on the details, building out my trailer, that kind of stuff behind the scenes. But last week I kicked it off, started marketing and looking for junk removal customers. So yesterday, Thursday, I was sitting in the FedEx parking lot, mailing an order to a customer, which, side note, I have a separate business and a separate YouTube channel where I sell stuff on eBay and I make videos about it. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below. Check it out. I got a call. Guy said he had some junk he wanted to have removed. Asked me if I had an iPhone. I don't. And I said, I don't. And he goes, okay, I was going to FaceTime you. And I said, well, just send me some pictures and I'll take a look. And he goes, well, I'll send you a video. So, because he wanted to walk around and he was pointing at stuff that he wanted to get removed and what it was, that kind of stuff. So, sent me the video. It was a little bit grainy, probably because it came through text message. And I watched it 3 or 4 times. It looked like it was going to be a full pickup load or possibly a full trailer and maybe a little bit of a pickup. And I was like, because my trailer lights, we've been having a problem getting the trailer lights to work. And so I called my dad. He said they're still not working. So in my head, I was like, okay, it could be 2 pickup loads, might be $200 or $300 in dump fees, something like that. I really don't know what it was going to come out to. So I called the guy back and thinking worst case scenario, $300. I'm looking at what it is. And I was like, okay, I'll do it for $400. And he said, okay, that works. We agreed I'd be there at 2 o'clock. So I called my dad and said, hey, I'm headed out that way. I'm going to grab the truck and I'm going to head out and get onto this job. So, and I start thinking about the price and the dump fees and labor. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to break even on this thing. I said, but man, I just want to get this first job under my belt. I want to get one done and, feel like I'm making some forward momentum here and make some mistakes to learn from. First mistake number 1, during that call, I did not ask how he heard about me. I have ads on Nextdoor, advertising all over Facebook in groups, just self-advertising, just free posts and stuff like that, not paid advertising. I'm on Google, I have my own website, and on Yelp. And so I didn't ask him, did you find me on Google? Where did you find me? And so that was a bummer because now I don't know. And honestly, I didn't think about it till like we were going home. I was like, I never asked the guy. Like, and I actually never talked to the guy again that I originally talked to. Talked to some other people. But so that was mistake number one. So I get out, grab the truck from my dad, and he said, hey, do you want me to go with you? And I was like, nah, I think it's okay. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe so. Just because I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go. And maybe I will need help. I don't think so, but I just don't know. So this first one could be tricky. So he went out there with me. And once we got onto the job site, that's when I realized mistake number two is in the video, the guy, the very last thing he was talking about, I see this pile and he goes, yeah, I've got these boxes and pallets here. And I thought the boxes were on the ground. Everything's on the ground, but there was a little pile kind of behind that I was like, oh, there's some boxes over there. And this huge pile was the pallets. And it wasn't. The huge pile were these giant boxes. They're like, I don't know, 4 feet long or 3.5 feet long and 2 feet wide. And there was a ton of them, about 40, 50 boxes. It's a big metal building. And I'll just say it is a horticultural facility. And they had bought all new lighting for this facility. And I looked up the lights based on the boxes. This is like $40,000 worth of lighting they were putting in. It was insane. But we opened the boxes, lifted up the box, and they're full of rigid foam packaging. So even breaking down the boxes, you still have to take all the foam. So anyhow, got out on the job site, and I, realized that I made a mistake there in assuming and not clarifying. That was mistake number two, not clarifying what was what based on the video and just assuming that I knew what he was talking about. And I'm looking at this thing going, okay, this is going to cost me now. And because this might be like 2 trailer loads or two pickup loads. Because when I thought it was a stack of pallets, my idea was to take all the pallets in one load. I was going to go over to a used pallet facility about 5 miles away. I was actually going to sell them the pallets. I was going to make money on those. Then go back, get everything else, and take it to the dump, or possibly if I could get everything else into one truckload, I was going to take it to my house. And you're like, Brian, why in the world would you take that stuff to your house? Because in a week, we have Big Junk Pickup Day. We have it once a month where I live. Completely, it's part of our trash service. You can put basically anything you want out by the curb, a mountainous pile of stuff, and they just pick it all up. And you don't have to pay extra for it. It happens once a month. And so I called my wife in advance. I was like, hey, just letting you know, I might be bringing home a pickup load full of stuff and putting it in the driveway for a few days until Big Junk Pickup Day comes. But then it was only a few pallets and a ton of boxes, and they're hard to deal with. So I'm looking at this going, man, this might be 2 full truckloads. So I told my dad what we'd do is we'd load everything up and as many boxes as we could, but leave the boxes until the end. And we did that. While we were working on that, came across mistake number 3. I don't typically eat breakfast in the morning. I do sometimes. And I always eat lunch and dinner. I was so excited getting ready for this job once I landed it that I didn't eat anything. So I didn't eat breakfast or lunch. Get to this place at 2 o'clock. It's 90 degrees outside. I wear long pants whenever I'm doing anything like that just to protect my legs. And I got my work boots, and we are like hustling to get this truck loaded up. So we had the pickup truck completely loaded down in an hour and 20 minutes with the first load. And I was like starting to get real lightheaded. Like I would stand up and I would just kind of almost lose my balance a little bit because I hadn't eaten anything. And I was drinking water, but I hadn't eaten anything. So it was really getting to me. Big mistake. And I know better now to eat when you're supposed to. And I'm going to make sure I'm carrying some snacks as well. But that was mistake number 3. So we get the truck loaded up, go to the dump. I'm worried. I'm like, man, this is like a couple $100. But they charged me for 3 cubic yards based on the weight. So they charged by the volume, but they're looking at this in the truck. My truck is like, I think completely full. It's like 6 cubic yards top to bottom because I have sides on the truck. And they only charged me for 3 cubic yards. So my dump fee was $97. And that's because I had to get a safety vest. I brought a safety vest for myself. I wasn't intending for my dad to go, but he did. And so we needed 2 safety vests. So I had to pay $1 for a plastic safety vest at the dump there. Not a big deal, but we go and get the stuff dumped. That did not smell great. But then we get back and I get back there and the boxes that we had left, that's all we had left is 1 pallet and like a stack and a half of boxes that were all going to go in the back of the truck. We weren't even going to have to stomp them down or anything. And I'm like, it seems like there's a lot more boxes. I don't think there was this many boxes. And then there was also sitting beside their dumpster, like by the boxes, 4 giant black trash bags completely full. Like those weren't there. So I went and asked the guy, I said, hey, is there a lot more boxes out there now? He goes, oh yeah. He said, he goes, I realized when you guys were gone that we forgot to put out a whole bunch of them. And then we have those trash bags, they're kind of squishy. And I said, yeah. I said, the thing was, is like, I didn't have those built into the price because all that extra stuff would definitely make me have to go to the, like that would be, because he's thinking that my second load is going to be it's going to go to the dump too. I know the second load of all the boxes is going to my house, but I said I have to do a whole nother trip to the dump. So I said, I can take the extra stuff, but I have to charge you more. He goes, let me call the guy. And so he calls him and he said, well, how much more? And I said, it's going to be $150. And the guy goes, he said he'd only go an extra 100. I was like, well, I said, it's an extra 100 just to go to the dump. And I can't, just all the labor, I can't do that for free. Like it'd have to be 150. And they decided not to do it. They decided to keep the extra trash bags and the extra boxes there. And I was just going to take what was originally, agreed upon. And he goes, oh man, I thought you could like stomp them, break them all down. I saw you break them down boxes. I said, well, yeah, you can break down the boxes, but then you still have to stack all that foam stuff on top of them. It has all the packing inside because those lights are very delicate. So there's a ton of rigid foam packaging inside the box. So you don't really gain anything by stomping them down because you still have the thickness of all the packaging. And it's the same size as the box. So it's just, he's like, oh, he goes, okay. He goes, got it. He goes, we'll just, take what goes in the truck then, and then we'll just go with that. And I said, okay. So we get everything loaded up and man, we squeezed it. I even took more boxes than I thought would fit back there just to, try to be a good guy. And then I figured out mistake number 4. I didn't find out how I was going to get paid. So I go back there and I was like, hey, we're done. He goes, okay. And he goes, you need anything from me? And I was like, I just need to get paid. And he goes, oh, he goes, did he not talk to you about that? And I said, nope. I just, and he goes, okay. He goes, let me call him. He said, he goes, unless you take credit cards. Now I do have Square. I can take tap cards. I can do all that. I said, technically I could, but that's like the worst case scenario because the fees are so much. And it's $3 for every $100 essentially. So it would have cost me $12 to process a credit card. And I didn't really want to. And the one guy said, you take Cash App? I'm like, yeah, Cash App's great. So he ends up calling the guy, tries to get a hold of him. It takes about 5 minutes before he can get a hold of him, talks to him, and he goes, okay, talk to him. Send him your Cash App. He goes, but it's going to be a little bit because he's meeting with his lawyer. And actually, no, he said, send him your Cash App. He gave me the number to send it to. I sent it to him. Then he called him. And he said, hey, the guy sent you the Cash App. It's in your text. He needs to get paid. And he goes, well, tell him it's going to be a little bit because I'm meeting with the lawyer. anybody who uses Cash App knows you can send Cash App in about 30 seconds. I mean, he could have done it walking back into the room to talk to the lawyer. And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, who does that? Oh, he's done with the job. I owe him money. Just tell him to wait. So I'm standing there, and the guy I've been working with, person to person, said, if you want to, take that other load to the dump and then come back, and I said, no, it dumps on my way home because I'm taking the boxes home. So I'm not telling him that part. I said, I'll just wait. I probably waited 20 minutes before the guy actually cashed out me the money. And I was like, that's so crazy but that's my fault. I didn't establish that up front. How I was going to get paid, Cash App, credit card, cash, by who. I didn't ask any of those questions, which was my fault. So let's see if I'm missing anything out here. We did use their dumpster for some stuff. They had once it was all added up, it was a bunch of pieces, but it was probably a couple sheets of drywall. They had a dumpster that was basically completely full. And I said, hey, can I throw that drywall in the dumpster? And they're like, no, because if the lid pops up at all, it costs us $300 if the lid's not perfectly flush closed. And I said, I'm just going to get in the dumpster and stomp it down, and then we'll just put the drywall in it. And they're like, if you want to crawl in the dumpster, fine, but the lid just can't pop up. So that did, save a little bit on weight. We threw that, having to haul it back and forth. So it wouldn't have taken up very much space in the truck, just hauling it around. But yeah, so we did put that in their dumpster, had permission for that, and everything worked out there. But yeah, it was a little bit wacky. All in all, we left at 12:30 to head out there, got back home at 5:30, probably a little longer, probably an extra half hour, just because of the waiting around and talking about the money at the end. That part shouldn't have been, I should have walked in, had money in my hand, and we should have been gone. Probably would have saved me about 30 minutes in total, but 5.5 hours. So I got paid and I got paid $400. And I wanted to see what the per hour rate was. And so I took the $400, I took out my $97 for the dump fee. I filled the truck completely up right when we left. So there's a gas station 2 miles from my dad's house. And then I filled it up on the way home at the same gas station and put in $15.50 in gas. So shook out at $287.50 is what I had left over from the $400. And I have a stack of boxes on my front porch. They're going out for big junk next week. But that works out to $57.50 per hour, which is not quite as good as the $200 per hour that the guy in the video that inspired me to do this whole thing makes. But I'll tell you, $57.50 an hour is a heck of a lot better than, I don't know, working at Starbucks or flipping burgers, or it's better than 15 to 20 bucks an hour, that's for sure. So, if you were doing this 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year, you'd be making over $100,000 just if you had that same rate, $57.50 an hour. So I think it actually shook out to like $120,000 a year. It was pretty substantial, but I don't have that right now. I'm just getting my feet under me. I don't even have job number 2 lined up yet. I'm working on that. So then I started thinking, okay, well, my dad was there with me. How much longer would it have taken me if my dad wasn't there with me? Honestly, I think the whole thing probably would have taken about an hour longer. And some of that was just because, 2 of us be working on the same thing. I just think, honestly, it probably would have taken about an hour longer. So no discredit to my dad at all. But, and that would have been about $48 an hour. Still, I think is pretty decent per hour rate. And I'd be pretty happy with that if I could do that ongoing. Came home, talked to my wife about it, and she goes, okay, so we have our house, my mother-in-law's house, and my mother-in-law's other house, which are all within about 4 miles of each other. She goes, we just need to just figure out each job, how you can take a full load of stuff and put it at each house right before big junk pickup day so we can save money on dump fees. So she's all in on it. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I don't know what else to talk about there. It was making the mistakes and all the stuff. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was so exciting to actually get that first job underway, get it completed, get back home. I was like so happy that whole thing happened, and it was just, overall, it was a really good experience. Despite the trying to get paid and all that stuff, it was a really good experience. So I'm looking forward to job number 2, and I'll make sure I'm going to get better video footage on job number 2. I'll remember to actually take my Osmo Action Cam with me so I can get better footage of the whole thing happening. I was just doing all that with my phone because I forgot to get that. I just wanted to go, and I just forgot a couple things. So that's really it. If you have any comments or questions or tips, man, if you're watching this and you have any tips for me, please leave those down in the comments below. I'd be happy to have those. I'm just going to keep chugging away at this junk removal journey and just get as much cash piled up as I can, and just keep building it. So I appreciate you watching, and until next time, have a great day.